Presented by Kamuk Ukulele Magazine, this is Ukulele Stories. Matt Dahlberg, welcome to Ukulele Stories.
Hey, it's so great to see you.
And it's not long since I actually saw you in person because you're actually in Australia with a couple of other ukulele luminaries in Sydney. And let's start there. Tell us about your recent trip to Oz.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was so great to catch up with you, albeit briefly. Because we go way back with stuff. But yeah, it was a great trip. I got to go out with Kale Gamiao and Mika Kane for the Hunter Valley Ukulele Retreat. And so what was awesome about it is it was designed to be less of like a festival and more of a really intimate, retreat experience for the people that were attending. And the company that put it on, Australia Ukulele Retreats, this was their sort of inaugural session. It's run by a former student of mine, actually, named Ian Porter, who's an awesome dude. And he reached out to me early on when they were starting to plan some of this, asking if I'd be interested. And I was all over it. Private lessons are still kind of my bread and butter, the thing I enjoy doing the most with the ukulele. So it was almost like an opportunity to bring that type of experience to a little bit wider of an audience. And it went really well. Kale and Mika were perfect for this event. All of our workshops sort of connected to one another, and you got to be able to ask questions to each of us, which I think is kind of a unique thing in the festival world. Sometimes you kind of do your festival and you do your workshop with this teacher and then with this teacher, and they don't necessarily connect.
Yeah.
And with this, the design there was, Kale said this, what's your take on this? Or Matt said this, what does that mean, Mika? And made for a really cool, unique experience. So
that's a really interesting way to run it, isn't it? Having everything kind of interconnect. Because, a lot of the time you go to a festival and the workshops are just so different, really, aren't they? So that's a cool idea.
There's an appeal certainly with the festivals because you get a little of everything. It's like a tasting platter, right? But this was more like a multi-course, if that makes sense. Where everything's kind of designed to work together.
Yeah.
And it was a blast. Hope to do it again. Not next year. The stressful part of the trip was we actually just welcomed the birth of my second son back in September.
Congratulations.
And so, thank you. Yeah, and I've got a 9-year-old son as well. And so I took my 9-year-old and left my wife and 1-month-old as we traveled across the world. And that was intense and a lot. But it all went really well, and happy we did it. But definitely glad to be home now.
Yeah. Well, great memories for your son as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a few days in Sydney. We did Manly and
nice.
Did the aquarium and the zoo. I hadn't been to the zoo before. That thing's incredible.
Taronga Zoo, in Sydney. It's got like, the giraffes have the best view in the world, like of the Opera House.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Incredible.
Yeah, it overlooks the harbor. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's
must do
beautiful.
For people and visitors.
They also have.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
They have the largest Lego store in the world in Sydney, which my son, who's a huge Lego fanatic, that was a good surprise.
They got some really cool like giant figures in there as well, don't they? Yeah. Like making the harbour bridge and stuff. It's really cool. So if you're in Sydney, come on down. We figured out when you were here, while we were just chatting briefly, that the first time we met was actually at the Cairns Ukulele Festival in 2010. So 15 years ago. Sadly, the festival doesn't happen anymore. But it was an incredible time period in ukulele as well, because there's so many big festivals around the world happening at that point. I think were you there with Brittany Piver and Victoria Vox?
Yeah. So I think that was the second year, I believe.
Yeah.
So I was really fortunate. I got to do it 3 times. So I did the inaugural one in 2010. I believe that was with Jason Orimoto, Daniel Ho, and James Hill, I think were the artists. And I remember that because I was so out of place. Like I was so new. I mean, like just the year before that, I was attending a festival as just, an attendee thinking this is the coolest thing ever. And then the next year I'm playing at one in Australia with James and these other idols. It was insane.
Amazing.
But, I think it was 2011 was with Brittany and Victoria and Craig Chi and others.
Yeah.
I could be wrong though.
That was I have no memory for dates, but I remember you all being there, and I remember it all being fantastic. It was a great
time.
Yeah, amazing time. Other festivals, do you play many still, or is it more that you're kind of focused on the teaching side of things?
Yeah, I just before COVID, I started thinking I should do one festival at least a year.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy festivals, no question, but I'm very much a homebody, and I really love being able to teach online because then I'm home, and travel is awesome, but it's also exhausting, and so I did a festival. I did the Mighty Uke Day in 2019, and it was a fantastic experience. And start lining up the festivals for the next few years, and then the world shut down in 2020, and that basically had me. Okay, I'm going to stay home for a little while, but I've started now. This is one of the first festivals kind of starting back up. I've got a couple of them lined up for next year as well, and so. I'm looking to do one or two a year as we move forward. I think it is important to attend these, to meet all the different people and everything.
Yeah, great fun too. Speaking of flashbacks, so I interviewed you for issue 3 of my magazine, Ukulele magazine, in 2012 actually. And my first question there was what I'm going to ask you again, or to retell. And that involves a Game Boy running out of batteries. So let's tell us how you got into the ukulele, Matt.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty funny because so my grandfather had a beautiful boat he'd take up in British Columbia in a place called Desolation Sound every year. And my family would go up there and stay with him on his boat for a week as like a family trip type of thing. And one year when I was up there, he showed me he had a little ukulele, a little Hohner ukulele, which I have somewhere. I just moved my studio, so I don't have it handy. But he had this little Hohner ukulele and a Teach Yourself How to Play by Mel Bay book. And he was trying to get me to play it. He'd show me like 5'2". He'd play on the ukulele, and I'd think, okay, Grandpa, no thanks. Like,
had
whatever.
He played for a long time?
No, he pretty much just knew 5'2", and I'll tell a story with that after this story.
Yeah,
because it definitely does run deep. But the one day I was up on that boat and it was raining, so we weren't able to really do anything. And my Game Boy at the time, using AAA's, ran out of batteries, and I was bored out of my mind. No extra batteries, couldn't go out and get more, and I picked up the ukulele and learned some of the stuff from that Teach Yourself How to Play Mel Bay book, and it was pretty fun. It was immediately accessible. I was a really kind of impatient kid and wanted immediate gratification with things I did, as I think most kids are. And the ukulele kind of gave that. I was playing a chord within a few minutes, and I tried guitar a couple times before that. No way. Like there's so much more of a barrier of entry.
Yep.
And so it was really fun, and the next year my Game Boy had batteries, and I still picked up the ukulele and played a bit. And it was a few years of that before I finally went home and asked my parents if they'd buy me one. And my family's very musical. My parents both played instruments growing up and everything. So they did, and the rest is kind of history there. So it was a pretty good experience to run out of Game Boy batteries.
Yeah. Well, you still love a bit of gaming though, don't you? Not playing the old Game Boy anymore, I'm sure, but
well, it's funny. I did find it, and my son is obsessed with video games, and recently I was like, "Here, you can play this one as long as you want," and he lasted about 10 minutes on Tetris before he was bored. It's a little more stimulating these days. But my grandfather, who taught me the few things, I'm actually sitting here because of the ukulele, which sounds funny, but the story goes that my grandmother had an ukulele, and she was in a sorority at University of Iowa, and my grandfather would go to the sorority and borrow her ukulele, and one day when he was returning it to her, he played 5'2" for her, and then they started dating.
Wow.
And so supposedly that song is the reason I'm sitting here right now.
That's incredible.
So I've actually got the ukulele. It's an old 1950s Harmony ukulele with a plastic fretboard, and it's in literal pieces. And it's a piece of plywood with plastic on it. And it's so special because of that story and everything. And so my grandfather was always, I would say, my biggest supporter when I was first doing this. He was always the one to ask about it, and it's a pretty special thing to have been able to share that with him and kind of take off thanks to his guidance and initial excitement.
Yeah, fantastic. Are you a bit of a uke collector? I mean, obviously you want to hold on to that one, but...
Yeah, not so much anymore. In college, I would buy a lot of ukuleles, and they were usually cheap ukuleles. And as I've gotten to be a better player, I've become more of a snob. And nice ukuleles can be very expensive, so I tend to not really collect them anymore. That being said, I do have a nice collection. I'm very, very fortunate to have a number of really amazing ukuleles. I do find that right now I feel pretty settled with most of them, where I have an instrument for whatever job I'm looking for. Now, all that being said, just a couple of years ago, I picked up the baritone ukulele, or almost a couple of years ago now. And so those are new, and I've enjoyed those so much. But yeah, as far as my high and low G ukuleles go, it's been the same for a number of years now.
Right. What's your go-to? So if you could just have one uke, which one would you grab?
Ooh, if I could just have... It's such a hard question to answer, and I'll use the excuse that I get to do this for a living, that it really changes the answer, because I have like my favorite ukulele to teach with, which is a Ukulele ukulele. I've got two of them that have these sort of numbered fret markers.
Yeah, which is quite unique to you, really.
Yeah, and it makes teaching so great. I'm not sure if there's going to be video accompanied with this, but when you look at a digital video and you look right now, there's no context of where my fingers are on the fretboard, right? Because it's cropped. Exactly. But having these numbers, you can see when I say, play 0, 4, 3, 3, like you can really see where I'm at.
Yeah.
So I've got two teaching instruments that I use every day when I'm teaching, and just love having. My main performance ukulele right now is a Ukulele ukulele as well, and it's got my initials in Aurebesh, which is the Star Wars language, on it. So a little geeky thing on it. I love this one. It's like the trusty workhorse. Like I feel comfortable and confident playing it. But then my favorite noodling ukulele when I'm just sitting and playing is my Morbetta ukulele. Been very fortunate there. And that's
beautiful ukes.
I recorded my album with that, and so those are kind of the go-tos. And then ironically though, the ukulele I'm playing the most right now is my baritone, my Oli baritone, because it's so different and new, and I've just been having a blast exploring that different tone and soundscape.
Yeah, you played that in Sydney and it sounded absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think that was, I'm trying to remember what the builder was. It was actually one of Ian's ukuleles. I didn't want to fly with multiple instruments.
Sure, the baritone's a bit harder to fly with as well.
Yeah, and in Sydney, I was fortunate enough to play a bespoke ukulele, which a really good friend of mine who's also a private student, Martin, has been building ukuleles. And so I got to play I believe it's the 4th or 5th uke he's ever built, which is early on, and Mika Kane played one of his instruments as well, which was the one after mine where it was built, and we both were performing with those, and that was a cool experience, and able to give him some feedback, and we're blown away by how good of a build it is for how early on he is in his journey building them.
Wow, so, cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Excellent. You mentioned your CD there. Have you any plans to record any more, and what are your thoughts on the general state of music and streaming and AI and all that sort of thing? I mean, that's a big question.
Well, how much time we have? Yeah. Well, so I did an album called Dragonfly back in 2016, and it kind of felt like the checkbox album for me, where it was sort of what I had to do, what I was supposed to be doing, and it was a wonderful experience doing the thing. It had original songs and covers and just all of the different like representations of the ukulele that I thought needed to be present within my repertoire. Yeah. So there's a cover of like Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer and Elvis's Can't Help Falling in Love, and original songs that use, extensive strumming technique or picking technique, or it became like, okay, what cover do I still need on this album? Or what technique have I not used yet? What do I need to have here? And again, it was a great experience, but it ended up feeling less like a musical exercise and more of a technique and sort of, I don't know, culmination of things exercise. And so I didn't really have a desire to make another album after I did it, because I really think of myself more as a teacher. I like helping other people make the music they want to make. And it just, for me, wasn't the calling to playing ukulele, of being a recording artist or performing artist. But that being said, I got an Oli baritone ukulele in April of 2024. Was it 2024? You'd think I'd remember this. But and that kind of changed everything from that perspective. I had no interest in playing baritone, but Andrew over at the ukulele site was like, no, try this thing. Like,
Go try.
And it's so unique, such an incredible tone. And I fell in love with it and started writing music on it. And there was no intention to write music with it. It just kind of happened, which was really a neat thing because I hadn't really experienced that. And then those songs became an album, and I ended up recording that last spring at the ukulele site. And so the album's called the Baritone EP. If you go on different streaming things, it's just called Baritone. There was some drama with the word EP associated with licensing. That's a whole nother thing. But it's a collection of 9 different tracks that are all baritone ukulele, and they're mostly originals. There's some like interludes and a couple of covers of some really old songs. And then I got to collaborate with Kale Gamiao and Corey Fujimoto for sort of the last track on it. And I really enjoyed doing that project because I didn't plan on doing it. I didn't feel like I should be doing it. Just very organically happened. And now I've got a lot of private students playing baritone as a result, as they've kind of been exploring that same soundscape that I've fallen in love with. So no plans now, though. I feel like I got that album. I did that within the last year. So another 9 years or so, probably before the next one.
Well, you say your main bread and butter is teaching. What do you think sets you apart from all the other great ukulele teachers online these days?
I think it's just, maybe a little bit of the why. A lot of times teaching is its own unique platform, and there's a lot of different reasons to become a teacher. And I think if somebody's trying to learn to become the best possible player they can be, I'm not the teacher for them. My goal has never been to produce the best players in the world. My goal has always been to help people cultivate and foster their passion for playing and music to the best of my ability. And so it's almost in some ways more like coaching. I mean, there's lots of techniques being taught, and we work on all sorts of different songs, and I truly tailor the lessons to each individual. But at the end of the day, I judge my students not based on how much better they get at playing the ukulele, but rather how much more enjoyment they're finding from their journey playing. And so most of my students have been taking lessons for many years. I've been very fortunate I did the math somewhat recently. I've given way over 10,000 one-on-one lessons now. It's been my 9 to 5, so to speak, for over 15 years now. And in those 10,000 lessons, it's only like just over 100 different people. It's not a lot of individuals that I've taught comparatively, because some of them I've been teaching for 12 plus years at this standpoint. Wow. In fact, if someone's been taking lessons for only a year or so, they're relatively new. And that's what's been so satisfying to me is creating these relationships and, learning how they learn and what they enjoy, and just trying to create an environment that fosters their growth in that way. So, and everybody's different. Everybody needs different teachers. Sometimes I get a student who wants me to be a little bit of a hard ass, and, I'll do my best Whiplash impersonation, if you've seen that movie. But, for the most part, it's really about connecting with individuals and helping them find the most fulfillment they can on their journey.
Well, that's great. That's great. What does your sort of an average day look like for you then? Is it just back-to-back lessons?
Not as much recently. Today I right before this call, I did have 5 one-on-one lessons followed by a live stream on rock class, and then grabbed my kid from the bus and ran inside to do this. But I've been very, very fortunate to really be more of a full-time parent than ukulele teacher. Right now, my wife is on leave with the birth of our second son, but before that, I was teaching just when my son was at school, and I teach about 15 lessons a week the last few years. And so that would usually be 5 back-to-back lessons on 3 days a week. And then the other 2 days when he's at school would be days to do content. So private lessons are the bread and butter, what I really enjoy doing the most. But I do also have a Patreon page with a really neat community where I do lessons. And those lessons are based on the suggestions of patrons. So they actually get to decide on what the content is and the direction. So they suggest things. I make a list of their suggestions, and then they do a vote. And whatever wins is the lesson for that month. And so the last couple winners have been like, they suggested a lullaby for my new son. So I wrote something called Little Brother's Lullaby. That lesson's on YouTube now. And last month's winner was Ukulele Gamiao style strumming. So I'm working on that lesson currently. And so all of those lessons are available on YouTube for free as song tutorials and whatever else. And then you can join the Patreon to get access to the tabs and then special lessons there as well. So doing that. And then I also do some content for Rock Class 101. I do lessons there. So that's kind of the other 2 days. But now with the birth of the second son, the schedule changed yet again. Yeah. So now I currently teach 5 lessons on Thursdays, 5 lessons on Fridays, and I find room for all the other stuff when I can. But it's been a great balance of being able to be very present in my family's life and be a present father while also still maintaining a career that I get to find a lot of fulfillment from. Yeah,
well, that was one of my later questions, actually, is how do you fit it all in? But you've given us a good synopsis there. Speaking of learning then, what are your top 3 tips for beginners who might be listening to this?
Ooh, that's a great question. So the first tip for a beginner is really pay attention to your fretting hand and your position on how you make connection to the frets and the fret wire. You know, it's something that I didn't learn till too late, where I'd kind of think, oh, you just put the finger in between the 2 fret wires, right? And then you push as hard as you need to get a good tone. And that's not correct. The best way to get good tone with your fretting hand is to really hug right up next to that fret wire and push as softly as you can. And so a little exercise for beginners is play a G chord, you know, the 0, 2, 3, 2, and play that chord, and then take your fingers and completely release the pressure so that you're just touching the strings, and then play each string. You'll hear it muted, kind of like this type of sound. And then just with each finger individually, very gradually increase the pressure and make sure where you're increasing the pressure is right up next to that fret wire, right up next to it without coming over. And do that for each finger until you're playing the chord, and then strum it. And I can guarantee you're pushing half as hard. And I'm even talking to good players with this because I still do it. It's like, oh,
I press too hard.
Yeah. Everyone really does. And it's amazing how many problems it solves having really accurate and sort of, you know, considerate fretting. By giving more attention to that, it allows your tone and your development to increase, you know, so much more efficiently. And so that's one big tip is, you know, fretting position and don't push so hard. Another tip would be when you're learning different techniques and things, and, you know, maybe you're learning a right hand technique online and one teacher tells you to do one way and another teacher tells you to do another way. And this teacher says, this is terrible, never do this. And the other one says, this is the only way. I like to really consider that good technique does not lead to good tone. Good tone is a product of good technique. And what I mean by that is if you're trying to learn something, it doesn't matter how you get there once you're there. So if somebody gets amazing tone with a technique and it's efficient, they're able to play everything they want to play with it, it's very effective, they're getting the tonality and it's not holding them back, then it's correct technique. Even if it looks funny or they're doing something that somebody says is wrong. If the product that they get at the end of the day is great, nothing else really matters. So the tip here is, if it works for you, you're doing it right. And you might need to make little modifications here and there to make it work a little faster or whatever it might be. But don't stress too much over playing something exactly as someone else tells you to do it. Make sure it works best for you.
Yeah, I teach it. I teach workshops sometimes at festivals, and same thing. You know, I just tell people this is the way I do it. But if you figure a different way to do it that gets the same result, do that, because it's ukulele and not classical piano, so it's fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the frustrating things sometimes with teaching is you get like classical guitar teachers coming into the ukulele world and saying, this is the only way. It's like, well except it's not. And you can see all these amazing players that don't do it that way. And so with private lessons, that's one of the real joys is figuring out what works best for different people. And when I first started teaching, I had the ways I taught the things based on how I learned or how I was taught or something. And over the years, I've really realized there's so many different correct ways to do something because at the end of the day, if it sounds good, you're doing it right. That would be tip number 2. And tip number 3 is the most important one. And that's, do it for you. Like, don't worry about playing something because you think you're supposed to be playing it for someone else or that you're supposed to be learning this technique because someone on Instagram can do it and you feel like you should do it too. Play for an audience of one, right? If you play what you enjoy and you really enjoy the process of learning what you want to learn, you're going to have the best time on your journey. And when you compare your journey to other people, it's going to kill it. Comparison's the killer of joy, no question. And so when you're able to find what you enjoy and pursue that unapologetically, it's so much more fun. So, do it for you. Do it to do it. Like, just enjoy the process and don't worry about all the noise. So,
fantastic. They're awesome tips. Really good. What about creativity more generally then? What keeps you going creatively? Because if you are kind of, in the teaching space a lot of the time, you're kind of working on other people's visions of their creativity. What about yourself?
That's a great question. And it's an interesting one to answer because creativity is such a wide concept because, there's different ways I think to be creative. I don't consider myself musically inclined, which the reason I feel this way is I'll tell a little story. I've got 2 younger brothers, and my mom is a children's music teacher, and she would sing to us when we were babies at our respective times, right? And when she sang to me, I'd sing with her, and when she went out of my range, I'd belt it out of tune, as little kids, babies do. But with both of my younger brothers, when she'd go out of their range, they would jump the octave up or down, respectively, to stay in pitch with what she's singing.
Wow.
Which is insane. It's just absolutely incredible, right? And that fascinated me to no end because as we were growing up, we took piano lessons, we all were in band and things, and they could just hear and do things. And I couldn't just hear it. It was so frustrating because that was something they were born with. There was some sort of innate ability. And so my fascination with music stemmed from, can I learn that technique, that talent, that whatever else? And the short answer is no, but the long answer is kind of. And so I went to school to study music more out of that sort of curiosity than anything else. And so if you're wondering how this has anything to do with creativity, it's really, when I write music or I create arrangements, it's very different than how like my brothers would with their instruments or how I think most of my peers do it. Most people, when they do a cover of a song on ukulele, they hear it and then they start figuring it out based on hearing it, and they figure out the chords and melody and they make it their own. I can't work that way. I've worked very hard at it. It's playing by ear is just something I'm not attuned to. So I'll end up getting out a lead sheet and looking at the sheet music and it's like a puzzle or a math problem and applying it to the ukulele that way. And I've got hundreds of arrangements now that I've done between my channel on YouTube and Rock Class 101 and things of, covers or original songs or anything like that. But it's always been with that sort of mentality of kind of a puzzle that's being solved, more so than just the creativity of, it came to me in a dream or something like that. But it still feels creative, sort of like, building with Legos. If you're creative and you love to draw, you're looking with a blank slate. But I think you could also be creative building a Lego set and building it differently or something. You're kind of using these blocks that have a design purpose, but you can still make something out of that. So for me, the creative itch, I get a lot of, I get to itch it, so to speak, a lot through arranging on Rock Class, on my Patreon, and then in private lessons when someone says, oh, I want to learn this song, and maybe it's way outside their skill level. Now I get to create a version that I think works for them and to the techniques they're doing. Or maybe it's the opposite. They're a really, really great player and they want to play something very simple, but make it sound more rich and more elevated. Then I get to try to solve that puzzle. So for me, it's never been about just hearing and feeling the music. It's always been a little bit more of a analytical math puzzle type of problem. And I think that's what makes music so special and fun, is the way that I approach it might be very different than how my brothers approach it, or how some of my peers approach it. But at the end of the day, we all get to share this same experience of making music through different avenues.
Yeah, great. What's your advice then for people who maybe want to become more creative?
I think look at how you've been creative throughout your life, and if we're talking specifically to ukulele creativity, look at how you're creative with other avenues. Sometimes, somebody might hear me talk and think, oh, I'm supposed to play by taking a lead sheet and adapting it for ukulele. And you can, I've got a whole course on it, but you might be somebody who plays more by ear, and this style is not what's best for you. What's best for you is exploring how you sort of, what kind of relationship that you have with the medium. And so if you're somebody who does a lot of sketching and has been sort of artistically inclined, we'll say, where you just kind of feel like that works for you, explore it in that way on the ukulele. Even if a teacher tells you, oh, no, you should learn your chord shapes first before you start messing around. No, just pursue what clicks with you and what you feel like, gives you that sort of outlet, and compare it to other things in your life that have given you that outlet. I will say most people that take lessons are like me. It's just kind of a byproduct of taking lessons. I think the less musically inclined you are, the more likely you are to pursue a teacher. And when I say musically inclined, I don't mean it as any negative, because again, I don't think I am. And I think that in lessons, you can find a different way to interact with the music and find some creativity. So yeah, it's kind of a roundabout way of saying, look at how you get creative outlets in other aspects of your life, and you can bring those into your ukulele journey, and don't worry about what someone else tells you, whether it's creative or not.
I personally find that a lot of like idling and daydreaming kind of helps me get into a creative zone. Does that help you as well?
Yeah, I that's a great question, and a great sort of thought is, what sort of external things can create that sense of creativity. Yeah, I definitely feel like when there's no stress or pressure, there's an element of creativity that becomes stronger. I will say also, though, that when I have a deadline to make a tutorial, I all of a sudden can find a lot more creativity.
Deadline creativity.
The ADHD can certainly hyperfocus when it needs to. And so, but it's different styles of creativity too. And I will say that I don't think I'd ever really experienced like that musical creativity that people talk about until I started playing the baritone. And that was, I sort of had now worked a decade and a half at being a musician. And with the ukulele and with teaching and going to college for music and everything. And so when I got the baritone, I had more of an infrastructure than I had with a standard ukulele. And that let me kind of let go and just make music a little bit more. Now, that being said, I still was thinking the theory behind everything I was playing and all that, but I felt that sort of release of, expectation on myself, and was able to create in that way. And it's just a different style of creativity to me than if I'm making a lesson or something like that. So,
yeah, brilliant. What's your definition of success?
Whoa, that's a big one. I think my definition of success is finding fulfillment from myself and the people I care most about. Like if I'm proud of what I'm doing and the people that I'm proud of are proud of what I'm doing, the people that I care most about, then I think you're successful. I think that so often we try to assign our sense of success from external factors that aren't actually relevant to our own lives, whether that be financial or keeping up with the Joneses of having certain things or whatever it might be. And I think we lose track of the sense of fulfillment coming from not just within, but the externally from the people that we love and care about the most. You know, if I'm working on something that's a big project and I'm absolutely psyched about it and feel like it's great, my wife thinks it's an awesome thing, and you know, my close friends and family are all excited about it, I know I'm doing something very successful. And sometimes, you know, I might feel like I'm doing something great, and you know, maybe my wife's like, "Oh, is that?" And it gives enough of an external context that's important to me to reframe or reformat or find it. So, you know, I don't think success just comes from within. I think it comes from within and from the people that you are closest to, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's
no, it makes total sense.
How roundabout an answer that is.
Total sense to me. And a good way of looking at it, because I think a lot of people internalize their definition of success, whereas, some external factors
and sometimes
can help.
Yeah, sometimes that becomes selfish too, right? You know, sometimes there can be a selfish success and, you know, always taking into consideration those people that you love and care so much about. Especially now with my two kids, that's really redefined my sense of success, because if I'm doing something at the expense of, you know, my ability to be their parent, that detracts now. It makes me question of, is this the most successful I can be? Is this the best opportunity? And so, it's an interesting thing to find that balance, but it feels really good when you're able to, you know, get that from within and from the people that you love and care about.
Has your 9-year-old shown any interest in the uke?
He didn't until Australia. And actually, I'll pull up a picture here. So growing up, whatever my parents would have me do, I resent as an adult. Like, you know, they maybe took piano lessons. I do not like playing piano. That being said, piano lessons were probably the 2 most important years of education of my life. But, you know, whatever they made me do, I just, as a kid, I just didn't like as an adult. So I was very cognizant of that and very wary to kind of force my kids to do things that I had interest in, because I didn't want to kill that joy for them by forcing them. And it's not that my parents ever forced me to do anything that I really didn't want to do, or that they weren't supportive. No, my parents were incredibly supportive of everything. I just kind of wanted to find my own thing, I think. And the ukulele got to be that. So my son showed no interest until, of course, he got, you know, Mika Kane to be his teacher.
Well, that's all right.
And exactly, right? So Mika and Calais taught him, and he learned a bunch of different songs, and he was playing every day once we went back to Sydney, and obsessively.
Wow.
And, that was really cool. And I tried to just be there as a support, you know, and say, hey, if you have questions, let me know. But at the same time, not trying to be the overbearing dad of, oh, do it this way, or anything. I will say, since we've come home, though, he's played it maybe only a few times in the last couple of weeks, but that's a few times more than he did before. Okay. So maybe another trip with a couple, you know, world-class ukulele players and teachers could help stir it some more.
Well, I look forward to the Dahlberg and Son CD at some point. All right, the final question that I ask all my guests: what does the ukulele mean to you?
Ooh, that's a great question. It means a lot. The ukulele ended up providing so many different things to me in my life. It gave me a creative outlet, kind of like what we discussed. It gave me, in a lot of ways, a sense of identity where I could really dive into this thing and become part of a community and enjoy this music that I love, you know, listening to and playing. Like, whenever Jake would release a new CD, it'd just be like a kid, you know, getting the new rock album or whatever it was. And so it gave me in college really this wonderful sort of hobby that was a sense of community and just passion that I got to explore. And if that's all it gave me, then that would have been already more I could have hoped for. But it then gave me this whole other side of an opportunity at a career and an opportunity to connect with so many incredible people in that career. I've often thought about how funny it sounds when somebody says, "Oh, so what do you do for work?" It's like, "Oh, I'm a ukulele teacher." Like it sounds funny, but as being a ukulele teacher, I've gotten to make some of the closest friendships I could ever have asked for. I've gotten to be able to work with people that have taught me so much about just life and what success looks like or what creativity looks like, whatever it might be. And so this career has been just an incredible way to connect with so many different people in so many different ways. It's allowed me to travel. I've been to Australia 4 times now, all because of the ukulele. I've been to, all over the world and the country because of this little 4-string instrument and sharing the passion with it with other people. And I got to put my wife through nursing school with ukulele lessons, and now we have a life together where we work alternate hours so that someone's always home with our kids, and we get tons of time together as a family. And so the ukulele is, to say what it means to me, it's kind of been life, and all of the best opportunities I've really been able to receive have been in some way, shape, or form ukulele related for the last 15 or so years. So everything is probably the answer, but it's the connective tissue to everything that I've been able to accomplish. It's pretty cool.
Well, speaking of success, I think that sounds like success to me. So thank you very much for joining me. I'll put all the links to your Patreon, your YouTube, and whatever else down below. And thanks very much. Hope to see you down under again at some point for your fifth journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, it's been so surreal, because as you mentioned earlier, we met back in 2010, and I remember you were just starting Cam Uke magazine, I think, when we met, and it was so much fun talking with you and learning about this, because I was so new in 2010. I mean, that's like when I was first starting everything. My set was all Jake covers, basically, Jake Shimabukuro covers. I had like 2 original songs, and so it's. When you reached out about this, it was a very validating and fun thing. And it's been cool to see how you've had this career in ukulele, basically the same timeline I have, and it's been amazing to see your magazine and now this podcast and everything. And it's just too cool.
Well, it's all good fun, isn't it? It's all about creativity and, doing what you want to do, really.
Well, and I have to ask you, what's your favorite ukulele to play? Because I see you play different ones in videos all the time, and I've got a problem.
I mean, I don't know how many I have, 30 something, but at the moment it's an Ohana custom shop soprano.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, so I reached out to Lewis Wu, who's the owner of Ohana, and the custom shop had just got started, but they'd never made a soprano, and so we kind of collaborated on that. So it's just a little Koa soprano, but it's so loud and clear. It's got a beautiful tone. So that's definitely my current go-to. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I bet all the form B techniques and things sound awesome.
They do. Yeah. No, it's a beauty to play. Really love it. So I might go and do that now.
It's a good call.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Take it easy.
Thank you so much.
All right. See you next time. Thanks for listening to Ukulele Stories. Please subscribe so you never miss an episode, and follow our new Facebook page. To take us out, here's Matt with a beautiful rendition of Shenandoah from his baritone EP. I'm Cameron Murray. Until next time, keep on smiling and keep on strumming.